Greetings. Today we're going to talk about how I designed, fabricated, assembled, and installed this extruded aluminum roof rack on a Sprinter van. Let's get into it. I'm going to start with the material cost from the T-Nuts manufacturer, which were around $550. You can pause to see the exact amount there. So our first set of 8 pieces of 40-inch aluminum was just under $75, and then we have 4 cross links at 53 inches, just under $50. So you're looking at the framing alone under $200. Then we have all these fasteners, and I bought a bunch of extras for other projects, and all that's the other like approximately $200. $85 for shipping. Total puts you at about $550 and change if you're shipping to the United States. Lower 48, that is. Okay, so the CAD for this is done in Shapr3D. Now there's a link to this file in the description below, so just reference that if you're using this application. And if not, hopefully you know how to use a different application, but this is a good one and I recommend it. So in terms of design, this is about as easy as it gets. I imported these materials from the McMaster catalog and drew them out to the shape of the van. And then I wrote down a materials list in a spreadsheet and then ordered those on the T-Nuts website. One thing that's very important, you can see on one side we have 4 40-inch sections and then on connected together for the length, and then the width is 4 53.5-inch segments. The other note, if you're new to CAD and you're going to do this yourself, put all those fasteners you're going to use in the CAD drawing. Don't skip any of them, and that way you can be accurate in what you order, and then order some extra ones. So you can see I put all those in, and they're all there. The design thinking process for this specific build was, this is pretty small 1-inch by 1-inch extrusion. So we want these connectors to be stronger than the extrusion so that they're never a failure point. And that's why I put plates and corner brackets or gussets on everything. And then when we overlay our Sprinter, we can see that this is actually built a little long, and that gives me some little wiggle room on the length, so it could be chopped down a little bit, and maybe it might even be just a hair too wide. So if you try and measure it precisely and you under measure it, you can't just get more material and add it to that frame. But if you overshoot just a little bit, well, then you can trim things off, especially if it's your first rack. It's better to not try and be perfectly precise and err on the side of caution when it comes to ordering these things. So you can see the front of this, it overextends the front a little bit, and that's what I mean by giving myself some extra material to work with on the length side of the equation. Now that the materials are here, we're going to lay them all out the way we're going to assemble them, length and widthwise. And then we're just going to double check our size of our first corner bracket before we install it. We can see that it's a little big. So we've trimmed our piece and it looks right. So we'll measure it, write down our measurement there, and chop the rest of them. Okay, so now that we've measured twice and cut once, we are going to assemble the other side. Now, if you've never put together extruded aluminum before, couple pro tips. One, work with gravity. So those T-nuts, drop those in first and adjust your pieces so that you're using gravity to hold the screws down. The other thing is, if it's exterior, stainless steel as much as you can with the screws and T-nuts. This is a roof rack application, so using Loctite, always recommended, but red Loctite probably better than blue Loctite. So I'm going to switch over to that as soon as I remember that important fundamental. Okay, so we're getting this thing assembled right along. Got our first two corner brackets. Now we move on to the mid segments. Boom. Laying out all my pieces, putting them together just like that. So you lay them out and you put them together. Lay out, Loctite, screw. Simple as that. And you just keep repeating. Now, there's a reason why I did 40-inch segments instead of like 4x4 120-inch segment, and that's shipping. Shipping is much, much cheaper with smaller pieces. So play around with the shipping, but that's the general rule of thumb. Anything under 4 or 5 feet, you can convert that to metric if you want, is going to be cheaper to ship from T-nuts. Okay, so let's get this on the roof. Always wear a helmet. Never do this by yourself, even though it's super light. You could break a window and then you're like out $2,000. So just don't do that. Get someone to help you put this on your roof. All right, we saved this front piece for last, just to really just make sure it fit. Because if it didn't fit, I could cut it down a little bit. And I didn't need to, but we put it together and there's the final look. It looks really good and I'm stoked on it. So now we got to attach it to the roof, and to do that we are going to use these elevator bolts, hard to find fasteners. Look for those on Amazon. I got a link to my store below. Cutting these down with the cutting wheel on the angle grinder. Drilling my holes. Drill slow and use something to protect your van below. That's a wedge for like cutting wood and protecting the van, but you'll find it on Amazon if you search cutting wedge for like chainsawing and stuff. All right, got our holes drilled. Gonna vacuum those out later. Now let's put some bolts in. So you can see me using the red Loctite to get those in. And I'm going to freeze the frame here and talk about the 3 washers I'm using as a spacer underneath the roof rail. And that is because I can fit a thin webbing strap underneath there and actually attach stuff to this roof rack with straps if I want to in the future. So just keep that in mind as an option. All right, final look after we've trimmed off the top of all those fasteners with the cutting wheel, and it looks and feels really good. We're done. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Oh, not done. Just kidding. Make sure you use a paint pen. Mark all your nuts. That way you can check your nuts when you inspect your vehicle and make sure they haven't moved at all. And if they have, you can tighten your nuts back up.